What they don't want is what happened here today, people speaking the truth. And we had 50,000 people here today.
If the services aren't in the country to look after your own people, then how the hell can you look after anybody else?
You know, I say the political establishment is against the people in the march, and it's true. That said, a number of independent political figures have risen from these marches and have actually succeeded in winning local elections. So far, none have entered the parliament, but I'm delighted to spend a few minutes in a retrospective, now that the march is over, with Malachy Steenson, who's a member of the council in City Council in Dublin, and Gavin Pepper. Gavin, first of all, congratulations on your success. Give me an update on how today went from your point of view.
Absolutely amazing. You see, there was thousands upon thousands of people here today, and he came out in commemoration of the 1916 heroes and to let people know how upset they are with the way our country is being ran. The Irish people have had enough, you know. We've too many people on hospital trolleys waiting to see people. We've kids that can't get special needs school places. We've families in emergency accommodation. So the people are out to let that be heard. It's time to look after our own people, Ezra. The fact of the matter is, we've took in thousands upon thousands of immigrants, mainly illegal, a lot of illegal immigrants, and we don't have the resources to look after them. Ireland is so bad at the moment that I interviewed a woman the other night who had to travel up to Belfast to give birth to her child because there was no incubators in the Republic of Ireland. This is unacceptable. Now the mother has to go back up to Belfast to get a birth cert. Now the child, of course, will be registered, she will get their passport, but that's not the point. I mean, if the services aren't in the country to look after your own people, then how the hell can you look after anybody else? So Irish people are very upset. Me and Malachy here bring her up at the council all the time, and they've tried to block us out. We put in a motion to talk about the current crime crisis with the criminality that's happening in Ireland at the moment, and in Dublin especially, and they wouldn't hear our motion. They voted it down, so we walked out. We're constantly trying to get motions passed and have debate. The problem we have in Ireland, Ezra, is we don't have a proper news media station. RTE, Virgin Media, the mainstream media, they will not report the things that's going on in the country because it upsets the narrative.
Right. I saw some citizen journalists here today,
yes,
and it's my belief that almost anyone can be a journalist. Of course, people have different talent levels and energy, but I would encourage you to take heart from citizen journalists. That's all we are, and we've grown in Canada. Malachy, I want to ask you...
No, we fully support citizen journalists, and despite the political establishment here, even last week the police want to stop citizen journalists from recording because they're saying that, citizen journalists are putting out videos and that are edited and shown the police in a bad light. Any citizen journalist I know nearly, and Philip Dwyer, the main one here, was here today, who was live streaming. There's no editing. There's no...
And by the way, if a journalist is critical of police, that's part of freedom of speech.
Yes.
And frankly, I think the Gardaí sometimes need a little bit of criticism.
Well, they do, but I mean, they're trying to do away with free speech here, and that's one of the things. We defeated them on it last year, but they've only just put it on the back burner. What they don't want is what happened here today, people speaking the truth. And we had 50,000 people here today Pope Francis must be looking down on us today and gave us the good weather because it's been raining here all week. And, I think today exceeded our greatest expectations. We had a totally peaceful rally, no arrests, no violence. We could have done with a better sound system, but apart from that, it was perfect.
I want to ask you one more question, Malachy, and then I'm going to go to Gavin. You look like a dignified, gray-haired gentleman. You look. Well, I'm trying to say you look like a man who is at home in a boardroom. You could be a judge.
Personally, in this country, I will never be a judge because of my political beliefs.
All I'm trying to get at is that you look the part of someone that people would say, "Oh, okay, I like the looks of that Malachy Steenson." They would get over, there's some folks who are a little more rough around the edges. There's some folks who might even be a little bit more radical. I think you're a very compelling face for this movement. Tell me how things have evolved over the last year, because it seems like the anti-immigration folks are running off in all directions sometimes, and that's the nature of critics and skeptics. Is there any possible way of unifying in a particular movement or party, or is that just not how it works in Ireland?
Well, that's what we're trying to do, and invariably, as Brendan being one of our great authors, who was a member of the Republican movement and went to jail, in fact, into Borstal in Britain for possession of explosives for the IRA, said that the first thing on the agenda of any Irish political meeting is to split. That hasn't changed. Now, but we are making progress. It's slow progress because we have to be. I'm involved in politics since I was born, which is 62 years ago this year. And our family outings, for instance, were very rare, but they were always involved in Republican commemoration, Easter, Bodenstown in June, and other events. And I've been involved in revolutionary politics all my life.
I visited the Coolock protest. Coolock, a neighborhood, they were going to put at least 500 military-age migrant men into one facility, like just absolutely changing the dynamics of the neighborhood. And there were protest after protest, and the police came out with pepper spray and batons. And I just thought, this is such a high-stakes, high-visibility battle. I thought to myself, and I don't know Ireland well, I thought there's no way the political establishment is going to blink on this, because if they do, it'll show you can beat them. I'm a foreigner. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to learn what's going on in Ireland. And I thought, there's just no chance. But incredibly, the plans for the Coolock plantation were scrapped. Gavin, tell me how that happened and what lessons can be learned there, because I thought this was an unbeatable juggernaut, but it looks like it can be beat.
Well, the reason why it's beat is perseverance. It's people standing up and not standing down, and it's you keep going. You see, what we're doing now in Ireland is we're showing that in the well-to-do rich areas that they won't have illegal immigration in their communities, but they want to push it into the work.
Like Coolock. Coolock's a lower income area.
Yeah, where people are struggling. So there's people.
It's a sacrifice community.
Exactly, but when it goes to their areas, they're like, oh no, but they have the money and they have the real lawyers and all to fight back against it with real objections. So we have to put in a bigger fight against it. Malachy made a great point there, never be a judge. Like, Ireland is in an awful way at the moment. We have a judge in Ireland, Judge Martin Nolan, who gives suspended sentences to sex offenders and paedophiles like there's no tomorrow. And the media in Ireland will never talk about it, so it's citizen journalists that bring it up. And then the real excuse is they're probably saying that there's not enough room in the prisons, but that's not good enough. When it comes to immigration in the country, we don't have the resources, and especially in the working class communities. So that's why Coolock stands up. And you can win. The biggest mistake they ever said was, Leo Varadkar, you can't veto who lives in your community. But he seems to be able to veto who wants to live in his community.
But I don't think any community can have a veto on who gets to live in their area.
This is an issue here. So, they won't go out to the lovely scenes of Killiney, but they'll go into Coolock and Finglas and Ballymun and the places that already are disadvantaged, where kids are dropping out of school because the education supports are not there, where people are waiting for hospital appointments. And do the people in the dog care? No, their answers to everything is, oh, you're far right. Oh, you're a racist. We'll just think of any old word to tell you to go away. But do they care? No. And you just have to stand strong, not back down. And we're proof. I left school at 16. I'm a plasterer by trade. I didn't want to be a politician, but I'm proving to the kids that you can do this. And it's very important with education for the kids. One thing I asked is that kids, when they're leaving certain school, that they're registered to vote. That way they have a vote, because this government, as Malachy said, they're trying to take God out of the Constitution.
In the years since I was here at last year's march, and that's where I bumped into you on the street, things have changed around the world. For example, Donald Trump won in large part on his stop mass immigration and actually get into mass deportations. In the United Kingdom, Nigel Farage just last week strengthened his policy on mass deportations. So I think around the world, the ideas that you guys were early pioneers for have been normalized in other jurisdictions. Can you tell me if some of the changing mood in America, in the UK, and other places is washing over Ireland, or is Ireland still dead set on having the most massive immigration in the world?
Well, firstly, it was Keir Starmer rather than Nigel Farage in Britain. But there is a change. The political class in this country hate Donald Trump. And
same in Canada.
Yeah, there's not a day that passes where they don't have something derogatory about him. But when he was serving his last term, and the bit in between, they never mentioned Biden. But we get great inspiration from the fact that somebody like Donald Trump is prepared to stand up against the whole establishment class, regardless of the cost, to make America great again. What we want to do is make Ireland great again. And when he brought Conor McGregor over on St. Patrick's Day, a week after the so-called Taoiseach of this country, the most important day in Irish America is St. Patrick's Day. We have international and worldwide coverage on that day and right through.
It was incredible. The whole world was electrified by that meeting.
And the response from the political class here has been to attack the man rather than the message.
I guess both men, Conor McGregor and Trump, right?
Yeah. And some of the derogatory stuff that they would publish here about both of them is, truly horrendous. But nobody will address the message. And he says exactly what we're saying, and he brought that message to Irish America.
Ireland is at the cusp of, potentially losing its Irishness, and I'm here to raise the issue and highlight it. It's also St. Patrick's Day, so a little bit of celebrations for sure.
And we know that Irish America is a very big voting bloc for Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump totally respects the Irish vote in America. And we want to utilise that, just as our forefathers did, use our Irish people abroad to help build this new movement that we're building. Then we expect Donald Trump to come to this country and to meet with us, not with the political class, and that would be truly a great day for this country.
Well, guys, you've been very generous with your time with me. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the march very much. We'll be back next year. We'll probably be back before then. We've come almost half a dozen times now because we believe that there's a lot of international lessons that can be learned both by the government's very vigorous forced migration, which is astonishing. What they did in Dundrum, I've never seen that anywhere else in the world. But also the rally that you guys led today, that's pretty unique in the Western world right now. I haven't seen that kind of grassroots marches in Canada or America, or Tommy Robinson had a little bit in the UK, but there's on different issues there. What you guys are doing here in Ireland is really leading edge, and I look forward to covering it in the months and years ahead. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I encourage you to stimulate and to incubate citizen journalism here.
We're very strong.
We're very strong on that. Well, we won't stop, Israel. So, like you said, Ireland is different to every other country because we were always a country that just got on with things, As I said to you before, the problem with our political class in this country, as Malachy says, is they're heavily dependent on corporation tax. So when it comes to Trump, Ireland is already going into a slowdown, but what they'll say is it's tariffs, it's Trump's tariffs. So it's blame someone else rather than blame
just like
themselves.
Canada.
Yeah, when the fact of the matter is they're bringing in migrants to work in cheap labour jobs. That's what this is all about.
Drive down wages, drive up housing. We spoke to a firefighter in that very position. Well, lads, thank you again and congratulations. Folks, talking to two of the leading citizen-based, populist, independent political leaders in Ireland. I'm excited to see where these guys will be in a year and who will join their ranks. For all of my reports about mass migration, not just here in Ireland, but in other countries too, visit migrantreports.com. I'm in Ireland covering the massive march against mass immigration. For all of my updates and reports, go to migrantreports.com.